I would love to welcome everyone to today's Gems from the Wisdom Traditions, with the focus today on dancing through life. And if you can look between Eddie and Spencer to the wall behind them, you will see a statue of Shivanataraj, Shiva, Lord of the Dance. And Mahashivaratri is celebrated in India this week. And since we are multi-discipline, multi-religion celebrants at Still and Moving Center, this is one of the observances we like to make is of Mahashivaratri. And that will happen Wednesday or Thursday, I believe, of
Thursday.
This and he's Lord of the Dance, so it seemed as if this should be a great week for the idea of dancing for life. Eddie Oroyan is somebody who has visited Still and Moving Center. We've been trying to figure out if it's the last 3 or 4 years. He's a professional dancer now in Europe. He choreographs, he teaches, and he performs. He also is an amazing parkour artist from the photos that I've seen him flying through the air. And he dances through life quite beautifully between Europe and Hawaii, where he spent many of his years growing up. So we are so pleased to welcome Eddie to start us off on our consideration on this idea of dancing through life. Eddie,
Thank
you're on.
you, Renee. Great. We've been working, Spencer and I, we've been working for the last like five-ish weeks, a few times a week, and have this like wonderful residency. So normally my partner Jessica couldn't come, and so we have a duet that we're really curious about, and we wanted to not have to wait. And so Spencer, I know he's a great mover, he's a great climber, and so I proposed to him we come play, and so he was really game for it. And so we have a lot of really great material that now Jessica and I have to weed through and find what we want to use. But we're just going to show a little snippet of some of that to you to start off with. Okay? Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, great fun.
All right. So the last image, it wasn't quite high enough, so I couldn't get my arm in there. So we're supposed to end up in this last position. So there's a transition that we still have to work on, of course. There's a lot of, so we have so many great little images that then now it's a language, right? So we've developed some words and a few phrases, and then now the editing, the artwork, the artistry of linking those together to make something strong is going to be the next step for Jessica and I. So this journey that we did with Spencer, super helpful. Spencer has to go. He's got to go to the theater and work. But anyway, if we could just give him a round of applause because for his help. Thank you, Spencer.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks
Yeah.
for trusting me with your brain.
Yeah. Love you.
Love you, man.
All right.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Spencer.
So just gonna put this up here so I can sit. Yeah. So the one thing that's been really fun is being a tree. Spencer has been the monkey, and I've been the tree, which is going to be the case with Jessica. Anyway, so that's it's about play. We're just finding ways to have fun, and then from there it just propels itself, and there's not a lot of effort that it takes to create in this way. So I'm going to share with you my screen. It's a really great topic. I found interestingly, I've recently really come back to the use of music as a partner and inspiration. Because when I first started dancing, it was the thing that really drove me and made me want to move. I was a hyper kid in growing up and also in college. And there was this one techno song, electronic song that I remember when I first started dancing. It made me like want to jump off walls, and so I made a dance. I made a dance from it, and it was really inspired from the music. And then as you go on in your art, you find how that art stands alone, and it doesn't need the support of necessarily of other art forms. And so you move away. And with a lot of contemporary dance, music is there as a way to support the dance as the main art focus. Anyway, like sometimes you forget, oh, but music makes us want to dance. Yeah, it's that vibration makes us want to enjoy that vibration further by movement. So anyway, yeah. So as Renee was saying, this week is Mahashivaratri in India, or actually in the world, and we look at Shiva, who is this Lord of the dance that brings creation and destruction. And so I'm going to bring in this quote here that was in the almanac. Shiva stands in the center of the universe, surrounded by fire, poised and motionless. He yet engages in the eternal dance of motion. And then also, right next to the statue here in the studio, there's this little plaque, and it says, Shivanataraj is the perfect symbol of still and moving center, gracing the barefoot ballroom. Nataraj means Lord of the dance. With the beat of his drum, Shiva sets the universe into motion, with the ring of flames indicating the conflagration of constant change. The circle of life / death / renewal. At the center of his active dance, Shiva is calmly balanced, absolutely motionless, like the still center of a moving wheel. So actually, I didn't know much about this the statue until I started looking at it more and studying it. I found it really interesting. So this is the one here, and so there's some nice symbolism that goes into the statue, and I just wanted to share it because it's something that the statue has been here, but there's so much packed into it that maybe we don't. Then I didn't know it, and so I started looking into it, and I thought it would be nice to have a little insight to what some of this stuff means on the statue. This dancing, this stillness at the center. And so you have him. You have Shiva here in a circular cyclical closed arch of flames, as you see around. And this represents the cosmic fire that we're talking about, that creates everything, consumes everything, this cycle of life. It also kind of represents like the evils and dangers, heat, warmth, and joys that all surround us in our daily life. And then if you look at his headdress, you go a little closer. Now they're different. Like there are a lot of these different interpretations, and this particular one has the skull on the headdress, and this is a symbol of mortality, of course. And then there's the flower. You see on the left side of his head, there's this little flower sticking out there. And this is, I guess, identified as the datura metal, which is a psychoactive substance that's used to kind of get to a heightened state sometimes. And then you have his eyes that, they often traditionally represent the sun and the moon. And then you've got this third eye in the middle that represents wisdom and inner self-realization. There's a gentle smile. So you see this kind of soft smile that kind of shows the calmness despite kind of the contrasting forces and the energetic dance. He's still calm at the center. Then as we move down to the arms, so I don't know if you noticed that it was kind of by accident, but in the beginning of this thing that we showed, we have one body, 4 arms, and so I found it kind of appropriate to bring it in for this for today. And so you got these 4 arms, and sometimes it's up to 10 arms. So this particular one has 4 arms, and you see at the upper right hand holds the drum, which is basically a gesture kind of symbolizes rhythm and time, forward movement. And the upper left hand, the one kind of holding that is supposed to be Agni, or fire. And this also represents the forces of creation and destruction, which Shiva is known for. Then the Cobra Coils. Cobras, they're actually, sometimes it's just around one of the arms here, one of the right arms. Here on this statue, you have actually cobras all over the place. And this often is kind of a symbolism of the evil and ignorances all around us that we don't need to fear if we're following like the righteousness of Dharma and living that kind of life. And then you look at this lower left hand that's bent downwards. Oh wait, actually the one that's upwards, the palm that's up is representation of fearlessness. The one going down, then with the palm down and wrist down, and with also the arm crossing the chest, gives a representation of concealment and occlusion, concealing a heart from view. Then we go down to the legs, and you see that they're bent, and they're kind of suggests an active dance, something that has a lot of intensity. Oh, and actually I forgot, if we go back, you look at the hair here, the hair going around suggests like some open, some really crazy flying circular movement, the hair out. So it's an action pose. Even though it's in stillness, it's very much about action. It's about movement and swirling. So yeah, here as well, the legs are about motion, about activity, intensity. And underneath you see this gnome of sorts, this kind of demon or something. And that's a representation of ignorance and victory over it, Shiva's victory over ignorance. Anyway, so I found this very interesting. I've had a few. I don't know much about Shiva, but when I went to India, because my hair was up, people were constantly calling me Shiva, and there's some. Jessica had a dream where a black snake was around my neck, and it was, this crawling down her arm, and I said to her, "There's nothing to. It's not dangerous if you don't have fear." So there's some interesting connections in my life, but I don't. Not that it means anything. I do know, however, a little bit. I'm familiar. It made me think of one of the poems from T.S. Eliot. So this idea of the still center made me think of this one poem in a section of a poem from T.S. Eliot, from his 4 quartets. This one, Burnt Norton, and I'll just read it for you. At the still point of the turning world, neither flesh nor fleshless, neither from nor towards, at the still point there the dances, but neither arrest nor movement. And do not call it fixity, where past and future are gathered, neither movement from nor towards, neither ascent nor decline, except for the point, the still point. There would be no dance, and there is only the dance. I can only say there have been, but I cannot say where. There we have been, but I cannot say where. And I cannot say how long, for that is to place it in time. And so this idea of the past, where the past meets the present, this still point, this is the moment where we catch Shiva. It's the present, it's still, it's now. And then going on, there's a quote that's in the almanac that I really appreciated, that also attends to this idea. And there was just a little small snippet of that quote, but I wanted to actually include the larger context because I think it really relates. This is Anne Morrow Lindbergh, and she is from her book, Gift from the Sea. A good relationship has a pattern like a dance and is built on some of the same rules. The partners need not hold on tightly because they move confidently in the same pattern, intricate but gay and swift and free, like a country dance of Mozart's. To touch heavily would be to arrest the pattern and freeze the movement, to check the endlessly changing beauty of its unfolding. There's no place here for the possessive clutch, the clinging arm, the heavy hand, only the barest touch in passing. Now arm in arm, now face to face, now back to back. It does not matter which, because they know they are partners moving to the same rhythm, creating a pattern together and being invisibly nourished by it. The joy of such a pattern is the joy of living in the moment. Lightness of touch and living in the moment are intertwined. One cannot dance well unless one is completely in time with the music, not leaning back to the last step or pressing forward to the next one, but poised directly on the present step as it comes. But how does one learn this technique of dance? Why is it so difficult? What makes us hesitate and stumble? It is fear, I think, that makes one cling nostalgically to the last moment or clutch greedily toward the next. And fear can only be exercised by its opposite, love. So today, March 6th, 2021, coincidentally, my passport expired. Here's my passport. I've had it for the last 10 years, and today is the expiration date, if you see down here, March 6th, 2021. It's been a pain for me to get my new one. I had to expedite it, and I didn't know it was going to arrive, and it was, but it did arrive. And anyway, I was really happy to get this one back because it holds a path for me. And you see this kid there 10 years ago, super hopeful, really like looking into the future. I was like, here it comes, I'm ready for it. Then I filled this passport. I had to get an extension. I had to bring it in and get further pages put in because I filled it up. And so in this passport, I have 151 stamps. There is something that is a bit nostalgic, but at the same time, when this was happening, I was just moving forward, and I didn't know what was going to come. In fact, I didn't have much expectation. I just was ready, and when I started meditating, even more ready to take what was coming to me at the moment, which was ever changing. As a dancer, as an artist, it's hard to know. It's hard to plan very far in advance. As somebody who doesn't have, like, you don't make a lot of money as a dancing artist, and so you don't necessarily know how it's, what's it going to be like next year. We don't know. A pandemic may come. Do I have a backup? Do I have something that I can fall back on? Maybe not. So anyway, but then here I am, 10 years later, and you look at these two people, and for me, I see two different humans. Now, of course, the pictures are a little different quality too, but I don't know. I see it like I look at the person on the right there, and I see it, and I don't feel like that person anymore. I remember that person, but I didn't. But the change happened, and it's not something that I made happen on purpose. It just, through this dance of life, I kept moving forward, kept being open. And I feel actually more available. This person on the right, he was hopeful, but he was not necessarily a very open person to the world at that point. He became more and more open and more willing to dance with the partners that he was presented, and the ability to adjust and move, the flexibility that he found has only enriched his life. So, I just want to say, like, I in the process. So I started dancing when I was 20. I'm 42 now, and I made this transition to Europe, my early 30s, and it was really a needed thing, and I didn't expect it. I really had no idea that was going to happen, and it did, and I keep moving forward, and I don't know what's going to happen in the future. And of course, I go back sometimes and I think about the past, and I look. Of course, I'm looking at my passport and I say, "Wow, okay, there's been change." I look at this guy and I say, "Wow, there's a different person there." The energy, my focus, what I try for, what I find in my existence is this day-to-day present movement with Jessica, my partner. We don't say for sure this is what's going to happen in the future. We just say, we know we want to be with each other now. We want to be dancing this to the same music, and we move in this way. And if it happens that there's a song that takes her off in another direction and I go in another, that is what it is, and what happens. And there are other things comes in my life, other dance companies that I move with and I dance with. My body changes, my mind changes with them. And so just to be available, I found one of the key ways to enjoy that dance of life, that music that's offered, even if it isn't necessarily the music that we would choose. So there's always a dance. There's always a movement in our bodies, in stillness. It's something that I talk about in my classes a lot. We stop. We were vibrating for 15 minutes and we stop, and you can feel the energy still flowing through your body. So I want to read this poem. I was traveling. I wrote this during a middle of a tour, and I was never coming home, and it felt like forward momentum in my life. And so I wrote this poem in response to that. It's called The Dust Off a Dionysian Album. The dirty water in the dirty dishes, the smelly banana in the smelly trash, my messy blankets on the unmade bed, the rolled clothes in the open suitcase. I lay on the new carpet. I take off my cap, put it on the cap shelf. I create a genius playlist. I file my 15,000 KRWs for the next time. The novels are years I wrote in those parallels. The years are novels I write in these poems, in songs. We middle-agers surprise ourselves in our 8-bit menus. The levels we have beaten or have beaten us become tribute to our red, wind-beaten faces. Our tears dry as they come, the years, novels that we flip through to find the underlines, but we never reread while writing new ones. We edit as we go. The wildfire is contagious. It eats all and leaves none. Our beds are barely slept in, and our landlords love us. The air is fresh when we move, but when we stop, we get slammed by the bus, carrying the losers from pageants past. Banners become nooses, swinging the wreckage we kicked dirt over. But the stories come. Oh, there is not enough ink for them. There is no shelf so strong for the binders of source material that collect like cars in highway traffic, backing, beeping, busting for attention. Only we are a space shuttle and have no time for earthling things. We are artists and we don't read our own history. The life we bring is the life we take, and the balance is the high wire act that helps the people forget how miserable they are or reminds them how miserable they are. The shape of the smoke we inhale fills the fucked ships we sail that no one else will captain and no one will again. But you'll not understand if you've nothing in your gut. Eat our food, drink our drink. Mind not the dirt, the germs. We share our dishes. Let narcissists bury narcissists and free your hands. Let those who shelve themselves. So I wrote this before I started to meditate. So like I was commenting on the wreckage that I was leaving behind me because I was so I was just here now, you know. So there's a difference now also, like the presence of mind and care that this lightness of touch that Lindbergh talks about. I can look back now since I've started, you know, really seeing myself and my meditation practice and how I live, how I dance, is that I'm not, you know, I'm not leaving there's destruction for sure because things end and they go. But as far as like the pain or suffering that I might leave in a trail, I feel is less. And then the last thing, I just want to share this. It is a birthday gift for Still and Moving. And it's a dance that I made to the aria of Bach's Goldberg Variation. And it's something that I put together for the birthday celebration that you might see later on. So yeah, so I guess to pass this off into conversation, my curiosity is what are your still and moving journeys that you've experienced? What is your current still and moving journey? What is your soft touches? How you're discovering your soft touches, and how are you discovering your dancing? Dancing as a current action, not something that you sit back and observe, but you're doing. So.
Great questions. Wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Eddie. You just brought us at least half a lifetime's compressed. I've never seen the history of someone's passport before, and thought of that as part of dancing through life. A beautiful metaphor. So let's open it up to the public here. We have a number of dancers amongst us, and appreciators of dance amongst all of us.
Well, I'm just curious, do you feel that in spite of all the different dances and changes, I loved your beginning dance where you started with the other gentleman, the circles, and then cycle, which are really cycles, and then into the more difficult relationships, strenuous ones anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, do you think you're guided by a star or guided by something that's kind of beyond your immediate desires and passions, but there's something, and you may not be able to say what it is or where it's going to lead, but do you feel something like that as you dance through life?
I have always felt a magic. I've always felt something that, especially when I've been in nature, there's always been something that's pulled me, and it's pulled me in different directions. I've looked for it in different paths, but the reason why I got pulled into dance was I did musical theater. I did a few other things before I got into dancing, and it was the first time that I could really be present. I was like, I would always get in my mind, and my mouth would get dry, and I would be a bit miserable kind of if in front of people. And then I came into dance, and I'd start to sweat, and I wouldn't forget about the people, but it wouldn't matter. I didn't care about what they were thinking. And I was like, there was something that took over. So there is some kind of energy of force. I don't know what it is. I can't say I put any name to it. But there are things that have some crazy circumstances that have happened in my life. Like going to Europe during the time, I just happened to be going there with a company that never went to Europe before. We went and did a performance, and it just happened that Ultima Vez was having auditions. I wasn't signed up. I had a friend that said, "You need to come to this." She brought me in. We were late. They waited for us. I didn't have a CV. And then I had to miss like 3 of the 5 days. And I was like, they're not going to pick me. And I was like, I was like, I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to enjoy. And then like a few days into it, they offered me a job. And I really was like, I have not prepared for this at all. I was married. I was really like had so much going on back in Minneapolis where I was living. And so I went with it, and there were some things that I lost in the process, for sure. I had built something in Minneapolis that was very strong and secure. I lifted everything, and then my life just went. But I welcomed it. So I don't know. I think if we do tie in, I have a feeling that if we listen and we tie into that information that we have available to us, that there is some harmony we can find. That there's like some, okay, this vibration it's not quite here. Oh, here it is. Like there's something I feel like if you pay attention, maybe there's some some alignment that we can discover. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
I mean, meeting Renee, I was like a completely kismet. You know, I was like, I really want to work here. I really would love to teach dance and share dance and meditation stuff. And I think I maybe, you know, typed in dance and meditation stuff, Honolulu or something. I don't know. And then Renee's still in moving center. I mean, the name itself, I was like, well, sounds amazing. And so, and then ever since then, it was, Renee was so receptive, you know, and welcoming. So yeah, there's some things going on.
I have a reflection and a question. First is this notion of dancing being when you're in the dance, there's this flow that you're in. So flow science, something that I've been interested in. I've discovered flow certainly probably more than anywhere in dance, but also it happens elsewhere, and always grateful when it does. The reflection I had was something you mentioned about finding something, or might it be something that we let go of that allows what is natural to us to arise? This notion of being in the head might be like having peanut butter on the lens of your light, that when we find a way to clean the lens, there is this natural radiance that may be that place of flow. That was my reflection. But the question is, from a practical standpoint, do you have methods that you use, practices that allow you to step into that place of flow?
For me, like the change happened for me. I was a bit depressed actually back in like 2014, 15. I was doing what I wanted. I was traveling the world, having like rock star life in a way, and I was really like, well, it doesn't matter. Like I was very nihilistic, but pessimist nihilist. And then when it came into meditation, I was finally like given the tools of like, oh, that's what's going on. That's why actually that's not a like apathy. That's my reaction to some like unpleasant sensations that I have in my gut. Like I'm just trying to like, I'm like, I don't want this. And so I try to ignore it. Or I do something crazy because I want to feel present. So I do some like, you know, that's how I got into parkour more or less. But yeah, so now my practice, you know, when I'm really consistent in sitting, it definitely increases. But every day, like I tie in, I'm able to tie in now, and it's really as basic as the sensations that I feel in my body. And before a show or during a show or before a class, I try to just tie in what's going on. And I just do a scan. I scan and I see the information. So I'm aware so that I'm not surprised if something all of a sudden flowers up and, you know, some kind of stress or something like this. So for me, that really roots me in the now, because it's always different. Like you know, every day, like I really am so surprised. Like I can feel so good, so alive and present. You know, like yesterday, the energy for me, I was like, and you know, and today I was a bit like dragging, but then I was able to kind of observe, and that even that dragging is like just a sensation that I feel that like in my chest. It's like this weight, and if I observe it, then I'm like, okay, well, you can be there, and then I can bring my focus to other things. So that's my practice of how to find flow. It's basically just like opening up the channels in my body. It's really as physical as that. It's really a physical connection.
For the purpose of really understanding, I think, what is more deeply going on inside of you emotionally, and and the thoughts as well. They're all you're
Connected.
feeling, actually registering in the body. So it's your way of reading the book of yourself, it sounds
Exactly.
like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because it's all connected. I think something, I feel it. I sense it in my body. Someone says something pleasant or unpleasant. I feel it in the body. I can pinpoint it often. I can say like, oh, I feel it. I feel it here.
Let's open it up a little wider. We have a number of dancers here, and Eddie's asked you, and I'd like to kind of reiterate the question maybe in a slightly different way, which would be, how has your dancing affected the way that you deal with life itself?
Mm.
Are there parallels between the way that you have danced and the way that you are responding or creating or something in the rest of your life?
When you said that, I feel that dancing directly affected my life. And Eddie, as you're describing, like having to talk in front of people, or at least what I understood, having to talk and having to be this person in front of people, I never really felt natural with that or really acclimated. But once I could dance, and sometime in middle school, I discovered I can dance and I can just be me. And it doesn't have to have words to it because I don't know how to put words to it, but it's movement. And that's how I could feel really the most at home in this form and in this life. And it was a huge discovery. And I think through coming to salsa dance, which is a partner dance, and learning this communication and this really, there's this way of non-resistance. I think in dance, you can resist consciously, but ultimately you're resisting, but then there's a non-resistance. And especially with a partner dance, there's a tension, but there's a non-resistance. And it allowed me to parallel that with how I came across experiences and different events or different challenges that would come up. And I could, if I would think, oh, this guy's spinning me 5 times and I'm tired, but I just don't resist. And then I could do it and just keep the form and not resist. And there were times that I would literally think back to a time dancing and I would use that same inner articulation to get through a different kind of experience. So I think dance is such a great teacher. Love the presentation. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, Sarah. Mary, can I call on you?
Yes, thank you. I just want to tell you, Eddie, it was visually impressive, the dance that you did. And how I view dance is a community thing. I dance hula. I feel very uncomfortable doing free dance and that kind of stuff, but I have such a special feeling of community when I dance with our halau, with hula. And it's really being part of the group. And one example of emotions is, for 30 years, our halau has participated in a festival on Kauai every October. And this past year, because of COVID, we couldn't participate. We could not meet as a group, but everybody did as our performance, our dance on Zoom. And that was a completely different thing. And I believe that when we are with a group, those of us who aren't so confident can feel, okay, if I can do it in a group, I'm okay. So that's how I look at dancing from all these years of being part of a group. Amen.
Kevin?
I just wanted to say, Eddie, that was really great. And I know I wrote to you in a message after taking your brain calisthenics dance, but I just think that the week that I was able to attend, you did take 5. And I think so many people are used to 4/4 time signature, or the waltz time signature. And it's great when you can explore and play with other, time counts. I think it was just fantastic. And I can relate to you in the fact, and also Sarah, that, I think that growing up dancing, it really improved the confidence level. And even to this day, if I do, a performance, or when I used to compete dancing, um, people would say, well, you don't get nervous still. You've done this hundreds of times. And I said, no, I absolutely do get nervous. I think that the day that I don't feel nervous, there's a problem. And also bridging off what Sarah said, I think it's great that the communication that happens between dancers, even if it's not in a physical space, even if it's what we're doing now virtually, um, there's no way to describe that. And personally, I worked in the past with Cirque du Soleil. I worked for Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, and a lot of times people were like, "Well, you literally ran away with the circus. How did you do that, not growing up in that environment?" And I said, "Well, I think the confidence stemmed from all of those years of, pushing myself further and further to develop into that." And I really think that dance has been a very big component to who I am today. So I'm very grateful to continue that dance.
Yeah. I'm going to call on Stefan in a minute because Stefan is tuning in to us for the first time, and we'd love to get to know you a bit better, Stefan. So I'm wondering if you want to give us a little gem of your own here.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to be really upfront about this. My basic reference to dancing is being at the old Fillmore Ballroom in San Francisco, blasted on LSD and just flying all around the room. So, yeah, a bit out of the present tense, but I remember it vividly as being some of the most let's see, evocative, released, liberated feelings I've ever had in probably my whole life. And that feeling of like, it's a simultaneous sense of comfort and safety. It's like, I felt completely let go, and I wasn't afraid of, like, I don't know, I was jumping in the air and kicking and dancing, just flying around. I felt like Nataraj. And I never really worried about falling, or it was always smooth. It was always a dance. It was always the movement took care of itself, kind of. And it was, well, of course, the times and, the situation and et cetera. It was always like, well, this is the place to come and let yourself go. And I still really, really, really vividly remember that. That's probably in some ways my core experience of dance. I mean, through the years, I've done like Sufi dancing and other, with Sufi Sam Lewis when he was still alive, and others, Dances of Peace. I haven't been a consistent proponent of movement in action. I'm far more mental. I was reflecting earlier that when Eddie came on, I said, okay, man, wow, this guy's got a lot of courage. He can just go up and do this right up front. I said, but I can't currently, at least can't do that, but I'll stand on the stage in front of 600 people and deliver a lecture, and it's no big deal. It just comes right out. I don't even prepare for it. It's spontaneous and it's easy. And I realize that there's a dance to that too that's related. And so you really you really caught me off guard here, Renee. Thank you. Oh, and by the way,
thank you so much.
by the way, Tony Benici says hello. So.
Oh yes, wonderful. His mother Diana is a frequent participant with us.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes. Well, I think part of what you're touching on is the flow state that David was referring to. It was that feeling of complete naturalness and non-resistance that Sarah referred to when she learned to salsa dance. Also that that being a part of community is kind of a release of that Mary referred to, and doing the hula with a whole halau is a release of that sense of very circumscribed, tight self, and being a part of this greater whole. And for me, who discovered somewhere in my early 50s, I believe it was, that I was born to dance. I was thunderstruck to realize that, and eventually opened Still a Moving Center in response to that realization, because it went along with the simultaneous realization that perhaps everyone is too. Everyone else might be born to dance, in each of us in our own way, of course. I do feel that it's part of an overwhelming joy that suffuses the universe. And that joy in human conceptions is greater than any particular emotion. It's much greater than just being happy. It's much greater than being excited. It's much greater than even having having just fallen in love. But it also includes all the passions and feelings, and it's just this overwhelming ability to respond, I believe, to the entire universe in all these different ways, just being able to non-resistingly and without the sense of personal self be able to flow with and embrace the entire universe. Some sort of thing like that is the joy that I feel comes through true dance, whether it's a body in motion or it's a dance through life, which you may be experiencing, Stefan, when you speak to 600 people, a whole audience.
Well, I certainly dance with my writing, so thank you. Appreciate being seen.
Yes, absolutely. So we all want to, I think, give Eddie a wonderful send-off. He's leaving for Europe. He's got that passport just in the nick of time. And so we want to send Eddie off with all our best and finest aloha, and thank him for the wonderful dancing that he blessed Still a Moving Space with during the 5 or 6 weeks that he's been with us. David, is there anything that you'd like to say in conclusion?
What's up for next week?
Curving and
Curving space, carving space. I'm always interested in looking forward to the future.
Thank you once more, Eddie. That was really a delight and treat for all of us. And maybe we can just do our little round of applause.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you so much.
Aloha all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Amazing.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Uh,
Take care.
travels.
Thank you.